Okay, welcome everybody to our March meeting, and I'd like to first of all do acknowledgement of country. Council would like to acknowledge and pay its respects to the First Peoples of the River Murray and Mallee region, who are the traditional custodians of this land. Council would also like to pay its respects to elders past and present, and recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with this land on which we meet. Just a reminder that we are being recorded, it'll go onto our website. So I have apologies from obviously Councillor Simpson Marley on personal leave, Mr. Stephen Whitehead and Mr. Tim Pfeiffer. And we have Councillors Ben and David, both apologies as well. So members' declaration of interest, and Councillor Howie has indicated she has a perceived conflict of interest with item 17.2.2.2, Margaret, Councillor Howie, is that right? And because you are a committee member, is that the reason? Right, okay. And if everybody could stay on mute until such times that you wish to speak, and please just wave your hand and I'll pick it up off the screen. So you're wanting to speak, Margaret? Councillor Howie? All right, okay. Deputy.
The question was two things. One is, are other people able to log on to this meeting like as if we were in the chamber, including the local paper?
No, not available.
Through the chair, we do actually make the Zoom link available, Mr. Mayor. We do publicise that. So so we have in the past had the Murray Pioneer attend. So that would have been advertised on our website and on Facebook. So
they're still got to come to us first to get the link?
No, the media, we generally send the link to the media.
Okay, right. Yeah. All right, questions from the gallery will obviously be Neil.
I think through the chair, Mr. Mayor, I think, well, there you go, you have the media attending now. I think
right, he's there. Yep.
Tim Pfeiffer is also in the waiting room. If you can let him in, please.
Can you let him in? He's not there, I don't think, Tony. Ruth Strout is joining. There he is, got him. So I need to admit him. Okay, so Tim will not be shown as a apology. He's now in the meeting room at we've got Jules' time, 7:05. I've just lost my screen. Okay. So a motion of condolence. Someone prepared to move the motion of condolence? Councillor Spano is moving it. Councillor Hunter is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of February. Someone prepared to move that they be received and confirmed as a true and correct record. Councillor Maddox is moving it. Got a seconder? Councillor Hunter. All those in favour? That's carried. All right, business arising from those minutes. Has anybody got any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Hunter?
Yes, item 16.2 in terms of writing to the SA Power Networks highlighting the results of the zealous pruning of the street trees. Can we share if that's actually happened yet?
Tony, able to comment on that?
Through the chair, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, Councillor Hunter, I'll have to take that on notice. That would have been done by Mr. Whitehead and I can't answer on his behalf, I'm sorry.
All right, we'll follow that one up. Take that on notice. Thank you. Any other business arising from those minutes? I'll take that as a no. Just bear with me while I move my screen. Minutes of the special meeting held on the 10th of March. Someone prepared to move that those minutes are true and correct record. Councillor Howie is moving it. Councillor Daru is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. business arising from those minutes? No hands there, so I'll take that as no. Minutes of the Asset Committee meeting held on the 8th. Sorry. I've said it, any business arising. We haven't gone through the minutes yet. What have I got here? Special meeting now. I think. So we've done the special meeting. Is that everybody? Yes, that's all good. So questions with notice. Any questions with notice? Oh, there's none. Questions without notice, sorry. Councillor Hunter.
I've noticed a few issues down there with the works in front of the hotel and the pedestrians walking around the fences out into the traffic. I wonder, my question is, can staff investigate safer options for pedestrians, including path separation, speed limits and signage? I know I've witnessed one, I've heard from another that they've also seen similar things. Having a sign saying go across the other road is not what people are doing. They're just going out onto the road. I wonder if staff can investigate some safer options there.
That's normally the standard option, but obviously with a need a traffic management control of some sort. Tony?
Yeah, through the chair, Mr. Mayor. I know there's been conversations with the contractor. It's not ideal. I'll acknowledge that, Councillor Hunter, and I'll certainly make sure that they do have another conversation and bring to their attention, which I'm sure they're aware of, that people are not actually crossing the road and using the footpath on the other side. So yeah, happy to take that up with the contractor.
Okay, any other questions? Without notice? That's none. Minutes, recommendations of council committees. Someone prepared to move the minutes of the Asset Committee meeting held on the 8th of March. Councillor Daru is moving it. Councillor Spano has seconded it. All those in favour? All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Business arising from those minutes? That's nil. Right, elected members reports. Someone prepared to move that we received the elected members report. Councillor Hunter, sorry.
I have a question relating to page 33 of the, got a bit of echo at the moment, but page 33 of the agenda, the Department Director of Infrastructure and Environmental Services was going to comment or give us information about the National Resilience Task Force. I'm not sure that that's occurred yet, but there was some information to come back to us about that. It was an item that Councillor Daru raised in the previous, Asset Committee, I think. So have we heard back, or can we hear back as for all of us to be informed, please?
Tony?
Through the chair, I think maybe the chair of the committee might like to respond.
I am the chair of the committee, and I'm asking the question, if I can.
Apologies, I think Councillor Daru or Deputy Mayor Daru wants to comment.
Councillor Daru?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got an email around that, Peter, and I thought you were included in it, but obviously hasn't got to you. Yeah, and it has been placed. I'm just trying to recollect exactly what it was. I'll try and forward it to you tomorrow, if that's okay, and everyone else.
You happy with that, Councillor Hunter?
Yeah, so long as it goes to everybody. I think there's interest in that as an option to follow through, which for whatever reason wasn't followed through. So to finish that little circle off is important.
Okay. Councillor Howie, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I'll just comment. I can't hear Councillor Daru. His audio is very hollow and I can't understand a word you said. I don't know what it is, but I didn't understand a word he said.
It's coming through loud and clear here, Councillor Howie. Councillor Drew, give us a test again.
Is that better, Margaret?
Yeah.
I'll get a bit closer to the microphone, sorry.
All I've got is this big face looking at me now, so I'll have to accept that, Councillor Drew. Okay, any other questions on the Asset Committee meetings? Right, moving on to the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 10th of March. Someone prepared to move that? It's a true and correct record. Councillor Howie is moving it. Councillor Maddox is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Business arising from those minutes? That being none. Now, elected members report. Someone prepared to move the elected members reports be received. Councillor Daru, Councillor Howie. All those in favour? That's carried. Any questions on those elected members reports? Councillor Howie.
I did send mine late because I was away, and I asked Julie and Julie said she'll table my report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hunter.
Yeah, I think a few of us got caught out with reminders in our calendars set for the 4th in the month and all that sort of thing. I certainly did. And like Councillor Howard forwarded mine a little late.
Thank you. Any questions on those reports that have been received in the agenda? No. Right. CEO's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, there's a late report there, Tony.
Yeah, through the chair, Mr. Mayor, I believe the late report is withdrawn.
Okay, there's no late reports then. Right, moving on to yours, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Page 45, report 14.1. So council has received a section 270 review of our decision. Just might point out to elected members, this is the first 270 review we've had in the 11 years that I've been here. So it's a little bit exciting to go through this process. So we've included all the correspondence from the applicant. So including the correspondence that we replied before the 270 was requested. We also independently met with the applicant and some other houseboat operators to understand their concerns. I've also included in my report the summary document that we included with our 3 years of income and expenditure for houseboat moorings to show that essentially the function, even though we have been increasing the costs, is still barely recovers the cost of the fees that we include. Probably the only other thing I'd like to point out is that the review was undertaken by Mr. Whitehead. So the fees and charges report that was put to council was done by Mr. Pfeiffer. So for transparency purposes, he wasn't the appropriate person to undertake a review of a decision on a report that he put up. So it was done by Mr. Whitehead. As you can see from my recommendation and the attachments that we've included around some benchmarking on fees and charges, it's difficult to argue that the fees and charges are not fair and reasonable when you look at when you benchmark them against other houseboat moorings within the state and within the Riverland. So the options around the 270 review, council does have the option to mediate the situation. Given the amount of times that we've met, I'm not sure that mediation is going to be appropriate or work. The other option that you have is to refer the matter to the Ombudsman. As an independent body, I quite often encourage people to take a matter to the Ombudsman to test council's decision making. So essentially my recommendation on page, lost my page number, on page 45, is that essentially the mooring fees remain as they were set by council when you set your fees and charges, and suggest to the applicant that she refer the matter to the South Australian Ombudsman. Happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Questions from council, Councillor. Councillor Maddox.
I'd just like to pass a comment that I found it very absorbing and very interesting reading that particular article. Very much so.
Councillor Spano.
I'm glad that you've spoken to them, because on the long weekend I was having a lovely walk and got abused by one of them putting his catamaran against the across from the hotel. So yeah, he really, I mean, he was really going at me and arguing with me, and I just said, well, you know, we're lower than other places as well. And he said, oh, what do we get for it? And I said, well, he said, all of us aren't very happy with council. We're very angry with council at the moment. And I said, oh, well, I said, there's election in November. If you'd like to run one, you can see if you can do any better. But no, but anyway, I'm glad that you spoke to them, and hopefully they saw what I was trying to say.
There is other marinas in the state. There's one at Mannum and there's one at Murray Bridge. And if those people not happy with the way the marina's been run here in Renmark, then I suggest that they may want to move their boat somewhere else. Councillor Howie.
I know Councillor Hunter had his hand up first.
Councillor Howie.
Oh, okay. I'd like to endorse the recommendation, because I think there has been quite a bit of mediation with the staff. From what I can gather, there's been several meetings, and from going through the constant response back with the emails, I think that the staff have done more than what they need to do, and that, you know, I would recommend the recommendation.
Councillor Hunter.
Yeah, two things. I was going to almost got to the point of being able to read Maria's palm when the hand went up. I was going to make a comment about that, but I won't. But I think it highlights, as Councillor Howie has spoken, that the enormous amount of work that goes in by staff about what seems like a simple question. So thanks to staff for being so thorough, I think, and Margaret's nodding, all members are. So thank you.
Just like to remind members that we are being recorded. Okay, any other questions of Tony? Right, there's a recommendation there. Councillor Hunter, did you? No, Councillor Howie's moving it. Seconded. Councillor Spano. All those in favour? All those in favour? It's carried, thank you. That was all from you, Tony?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will present the Director of Infrastructure and Environmental Services reports a little bit later.
Okay, so moving on to Director of Corporate and Community Services report. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members. So this one I'm hoping will be comparatively simple. So it's a lease to the Paringa Football and Netball Club. Now, members will recall it was only about 12 months ago that we actually moved a lease for the new combined Paringa Football and Netball Club. That was at their request. The previous one was a 12-month lease with a 4-year renewal. We've gotten to the end of the 12-month period. The club, I'm told, is quite happy with the arrangements and how it's working, and particularly as a new combined club. and they've asked, instead of pulling the trigger on their 4-year renewal, they've just asked for a straight 5-year lease. And so that's, members, what you have in front of you.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Questions of Tim? Councillor Spano?
I was just going to agree with it because I think most of the others have 5-year leases with the 5-year, but this is, yeah, and I don't mind if we do put it for 5 years.
Councillor Hunter?
Just in terms of risk assessment and the session that DCCS ran for us, can you give us a brief look at what that would look like? Because it talks about no risk assessment carried out at this stage in SkyTrust. With something like this, the risks on one end could be enormous and hard to define. At another end, like we are now, we just move on without actually considering. And I'm happy for the answer to come at another point if we're a bit rushed for time or whatever. But it intrigues me following our meeting how you would define that in the sort of guide that we had at that meeting.
Tim, can you answer that question?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Hunter and members. So we are needing to rebuild our risk management system at the moment, as we mentioned at our risk management session with LGRS last week. So we do need to rebuild that system. We do need to also build the capability of our staff in the management of that system. So I think over the next sort of 6 to 12 months, you probably will see that section of these reports getting filled out a lot more. This would, in terms of a risk assessment regarding a lease like this, it really is probably more on the operational risk as opposed to strategic risk on something like this. And the operational risk on a lease that's only a peppercorn lease of $1 a year if requested, the operational risk on that, assuming that the building is in fairly fit condition, is going to be, in most cases, even once it has been fully assessed, pretty minimal. So I'm comfortable with that as it is right now, but we will be improving our maturity in terms of operational risk, as we mentioned last week, as we go forward over the next few months.
Councillor Howie?
My question is that on page 78, the requirement of painting and refurnishing interior and exterior every 5 years is a little bit overdone, or am I misreading it? And then they got on, that's page 78, and then on B, it's talking about every 2 years. Can you just explain that, please? So one is 4.10.1 and then 4.1, and then it's got A and B. It says clean and repair all surface to be repainted and refurnished and paint with at least 2 coats or blah, blah, blah. So I'm just wondering, is that really necessary, and do they do that?
Through you, Your Worship, look, that does look like a bit of a quirk in the lease, I must admit. Now it is talking about the 4.10.1 is talking about repainting and refurbishing interior and exterior, probably meaning the sort of the larger scale treatments. 4.10.1b is more, I mean, we're talking about the wallpaper stain, varnish, polish of surfaces. So I think that's probably the distinction in this. So I can certainly take it on notice and double check with our property officer tomorrow. But that would be my assumption. Otherwise, it could be a little quirk that just hasn't been deleted. Yeah,
I just don't think that you need to paint everything inside and out every 5 years.
It's through you, Your Worship. It's really just ensuring the appropriate management of our assets that we own, and painting, especially exterior surfaces. Painting does prevent weather damage and other sort of other types of damage that can happen to brickwork and mortar joints. But so the reason for that would be just very, very low level basic asset maintenance.
I mean, you want to make sure that the asset is in the same condition as it was when they took over, as when they move out. I mean, Not that I think they're going to move out at all, but yeah, that's the matter of if they have the building and the use of the building, then if they didn't have the use of the building, then council would have to be making sure that we upgrade our asset all the time anyway. Okay, any other questions of Tim?
Didn't we refurnish their kitchen just recently?
Yeah, $25,000, I think it was. Okay, any other questions? Right, you have a recommendation there. Councillor Spano is moving it and Councillor Maddox is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. Goat Island, 15.2, Tim.
Thank you, Your Worship, members. You'll recall that the Mayor raised this matter at our last council meeting. So this is in regard to Councillor Centofanti from Berry Barmera Council, advocacy for the renaming of Goat Island, which is the sort of the 1/3 section of Paringa Paddocks on the far end of Paringa Paddocks below the lock. So Councillor Centofanti has been working very closely with the family of the late Ruby Hunter. Ruby Hunter is believed to have been actually been born on Goat Island, and so the advocacy from Councillor Centofanti and the family was to actually rename Goat Island in her memory and in her honour. The request came directly to council. Council staff and myself have investigated the matter. Goat Island, which is part of, as I mentioned before, part of Paringa Paddocks, which is also therefore part of the River Murray National Park, actually falls under, in its Crown land, that falls under the care and control of Department of Environment and Water. So interestingly, that section of the National Park, interestingly, has 3 officially gazetted names, being Goat Island Sanctuary and Goat Island Wildlife Sanctuary. So what we've suggested is, since it's not the only thing that makes it anything to do with council really is the fact that it's within Paringa Council District, but it's not, it's land that's under the care and control of Department of Environment and Water. So what staff are recommending is effectively that we refer it back to Department of the correspondence to Department of Environment and Water for their consideration in regard to the memorial of Ruby Hunter.
Just want to clarify, or I think clarify a couple of things. To me, it is called Goat Island, but part of Goat Island there's a sanctuary, and part of Goat Island there's a national park. So to me, it hasn't got 3 individual names. It's Goat Island, and it's just indicating what is a sanctuary and what is as part of the national park. It has come to my notice since this happened that when you Google Goat Island on Google, you'll only come up in South Australia. It only comes up with Goat Island in the Coorong. So you'd think that when it mentions about her being born on the River Murray on Goat Island, it could be also a reference to the Coorong, because they lived there after that. They lived there most of their life, I think, in the Coorong area. So it's something that somebody else is going to have to investigate. It shouldn't be up to us to do that investigation. So yeah, I'm just bringing that out, that that matter has come up since this first started. Councillor Hunter.
Yes, thanks for raising that, Mayor Martin. Martinson, certainly Friends of the Park's done a lot of work, as I've mentioned to some of you before, and signage is about to go up. Trails have been named. Some of the Watchy Bush or the Lignum Bush is based on a story by Barney Lindsay. George Disher is going to be another one of the trails there after he was named as the king of one of the Aboriginal groups down there. And then there's this James Daly. There's a story about him that goes on and on about the sorts of things he did, being called the governor of Goat Island. There's so many stories and yarns that come out of there. It would have been a little tricky for us to be recommending one particular name. So I thank staff for the consideration of this one. I think the recommendation is fair and reasonable. Thank you.
Further on, I've had considerable discussions with another person who actually lived down in that area and still living in Renmark or Paringa today, and she assures me that yeah, Ruby Hunter was not born in that location, but that's where you're going to get a difference of opinion by other peoples and other groups. So, any other comments? Right, there's a recommendation there. Councillor Hunter's moving it. Councillor Howie is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, members.
Okay, that's all from you, Tim. That's a nod. Thank you. Director of Infrastructure and Environment Services, over to you, Tony. 60. Sorry. Councillor Howie.
Comment about the map. When you put maps, can you make them so that we can actually read them? On our iPad, when I pull it, try to see what's actually on there with all those little red writings, it goes into a big blur. So it's not fair that we can't actually look at the map because it's not working. So you either don't have a map or try and do something a little bit better.
We need to have a map, that's for sure. And yeah, we'll staff take on note that we may have to type or whatever we want to do it. Note on there that the specifics of those particular places so that they can be read when they're photocopied. Okay, nothing else? Okay. Over to you, Tony, 16.1.
I think Councillor Hunter has a question, Mr. Mayor, before I start.
Councillor Hunter? Mute.
Just on mute, Peter.
No, let's roll on. I've lost my track. It's okay. Thank you.
All right, over to you, Tony.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So report 16.1. So council's received a request from Nodding Smith for you to consider a memorial plaque to recognise the contribution of her husband and son, Karen and Doug Smith. So the staff have met with Mrs. Smith, have spoken to her over the phone, but also met on site, requested some additional information. Now we have that information. We deem that the application meets council's memorial policy and therefore are recommending that it be approved and that there be a supporting tree installed or planted with the installation of the plaque. So recommendation on page 104, Mr. Mayor. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Howie. Councillor Howie, on mute.
I just said, yeah, I support it too, and I like to move it. I just was going to make one comment, was that Karen hadn't contributed much, only that he went to the school and that he played football because he passed away when he was 19. But Doug was very much involved with the community for about 30 odd years. So a worthy recipient of a plaque.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the fact that Doug, yes, did most of it through being on council, being involved in the club and also the sports trust over there as well. And it's just unfortunate that his son was tragically killed in that road accident on the Sturt Highway down near Newry-Upton. And to me, there should be no issue of the son being included on that plaque. Right, so Councillor Howie's moving it.
Will
Seconder. Councillor Mannix. Questions? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, 16.2. So we have another request for a plaque from Ross Hales on behalf of the Salvation Army. Again, believe that this meets your policy and recommend that it be supported. Again, happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor. Recommendation on page 109.
I was talking to Stephen on Monday. I think it was Monday. Yeah, the plaque will be actually in the ground, so you'll need to stand above it and you can read it. It won't be a sign coming out of the ground. It'll be placed within the footpath area, and I assume it'd have to have a pave around the four sides. Councillor Drew.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to move the recommendation. I just think things like this, they come along are just terrific because you know, I didn't know any of that information about the Salvation in that army in that area. And little things as, you know, you're walking through town and see plaques like that, I think it creates great interest, and it's also a great acknowledgement to the really good service the Salvos do. So happy to move it.
Thank you. Councillor Hunter seconding it.
A question, if I might.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
It seems there could and should be more of these around the town, as Councillor Drew is talking about. Do we need a bit of a standard around this in terms of whether they are raised or flat and how they're made? Because just a normal sign's just going to get scuffed in the first week. And I'm sure we don't want to go to brass plaques. Do we need some sort of plan here that will go into the future and even link with our wayfinding and all that sort of thing as well? I don't want to hold it up, but if you go around historic towns, they've all got their little badges and the clover and the circles and all that sort of thing, and you go looking for them. So there's potential for people to go looking for these sorts of things in our town too. So do we need to actually sit back and design something that will be ongoing for future additional plaques?
Certainly take it on notice. I mean, there's going to be a significant amount of work for someone to do, whether it's volunteers or whatever. And don't have a problem with that, but yeah, that can be looked at in the future. So are you seconding that or not? No. Okay, Councillor Maddox, I think you were seconding it. Or? Yes, Councillor Maddox is seconding it. Any other discussion? All those in favour? All those in favour? I can't. Sometimes you need to put your hand across towards it because I can't see them. Okay, those against? That's carried. Thank you. Right. Nothing else, Tony? From Tim? From Stephen?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Information only reports. Someone prepared to move the information only reports be received. Councillor Howe is moving it. Councillor Daru is seconding it. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Questions of information only reports? Councillor Spanner?
Yeah, I was just asking, you know, to the Mayor and Councillors about Mrs. Brewer's request. There's a letter in there from Mrs. From Steph Brewer and all what she's done and everything. And Steph was told that she has to just fill out a couple of things, a form or something. Does it have to come back to council for us to do it, or will we accept it now that once she's done that, or not? How does that work?
Right. She has written a letter, but I tend to think we should be bringing it back the same as what we've done with Doug Smith.
Yeah, yeah.
So speaking to staff earlier, they don't feel comfortable in having the knowledge of some of these people because they haven't been here for a considerable amount of time. So it's probably, I don't think it hurts to actually come back for council to look at it. I mean, staff obviously do the investigation as part of Steph's letter, but and then they'll come back to council with a recommendation. Unless something comes up urgently that needs to be done for the sake of the illness of a particular person or whatever, that can be looked at the time. But I think that's the best way to handle it, is to get staff to put a recommendation to council.
Yeah. So she just has to fill out a form or something, and then I suppose it comes back to us.
Yeah, well, I have seen her letter, and that's been handed into staff as well. So
yeah, it's on here.
It's in the agenda. Sorry, it's in the agenda. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Hunter?
Yeah, a couple if I might. I wonder if the CEO is able to comment now or in the future about the allied health update on the land next to council. Is there something can be shared there? Because there's certainly lots of questions around the community and some of it probably ill-informed. Are you able to share anything at this point?
Yes, through the chair I can, Councillor Hunter. So what I can share with you firstly is the land division for the Allied Health Hub, which is essentially breaking it into 3 separate parcels, one NDIS housing, one childcare and one an Allied Health Hub. The land division has been completed. The actual development consent is currently out for public consultation, and I don't have the date on the top of my head, but I can share it with elected members as to when that closes for community comment. So the community can go and view the application and make comment as well. So what I might do, Councillor Hunter, is share that with you with my Friday wrap up of a link to the application and essentially when it closes.
I assume that would go in the Murray Pioneer, and I haven't seen it as yet myself, so more than likely it will be in tomorrow. And I have a nod here from a particular fella that's got long hair and it's red, and he cooks schnitzels. So I think that'll be in the Pioneer tomorrow as a public consultation. Other questions? Councillor Hunter?
Yeah, just to thank the CO for that, because it will give us the chance to comment on some of these planning things if we know when these items are coming up and going to the panel. So I appreciate that move, and I think others will too, if we can sort of get a sense of what's going up to the panel, and then we can comment on those. The Brower, is it Brower?
Brewer.
Clark? Brewer.
Brewer.
Yeah, should have known we had brewers out at North. The design of that plaque, is that to be similar, or how do you see that plaque being designed and put in place?
I mean, we've got plaques all over our seats anyway, Peter. So to me, that's how they're going to be done, in the same way.
All right. Hence my earlier question with the previous thing. But all right. Yep.
I mean, if the person wants something different than just a plaque with the names on it, 2 or 3 lines, then yes, we may have to look at something else depending on how they want it. If they want a pedestal in the lawn that's raised out of the ground, I mean, things like that. But at this stage, it's a plaque. They want to do a park bench as well. So yeah, the plaque will be on the bench or on the middle of the tabletop, or however it's whatever it's constructed of. Councillor Howie.
When I was meeting with Stephen and Nolene Smith, apparently it's quite specific what sort of plaque you have, and now you only can have one name on the seat, and quite specific about the size of the plaque. So unless things have changed since that last meeting, I believe that will be similar to all the ones that are on there, but it can only be one name on the seat.
So through the chair, Mr. Mayor, yeah, like they are very similar. And if someone was requesting something considerably different, then we bring that to council's attention.
Okay, Councillor Howie, Councillor Hunter, sorry.
Yeah, just in the Murraylands Riverland LGA report, I've seen mentioned there several times about the water.
Can we have a page number, Councillor Hunter?
153. So water position paper consultation is underway, I suppose. Is that something Renmark Pringa are going to have input to, and if so, how is the question? It's vitally important to us, I would have thought.
Tony?
Through the chair, Councillor Hunter, I would hope so. It's a fairly substantial allocation of funding that they've given to undertake this water positioning paper. How the consultation will happen, I'm not sure, but I will ask the executive officer if he can let me know.
MDA, for example, Murray-Darling Association, were asked to put input, and I believe there's a consultation process happening right now. It'd be a pity to miss the boat, I guess. Excuse the play on water, but a pity to miss the boat.
You've got some others there?
I think so. Can I look down my list for a moment?
Okay. Any other comments on information reports from anybody? Councillor Howie? You're on mute, Councillor Howie.
I was just going to make a comment on the Riverland Rose Festival, the cash in kind funding. I just wanted to, they were going to do a presentation tonight, but of course that got canned, and they did ask me whether it was necessary, and I said, well, not really. We would probably prefer a progress report for the next festival, which is in October this year. However, I just wanted to mention is that They had about 1,500 visit the Rose Week Fair, approximately 11,000 visitors to the 42 events. 38% were from non-Riverland postcodes, and which meant about 4,500 were interstate, because we were still all locked down, so there was nobody coming from anywhere else, and about 7,000 local. And there was about 10% stayed overnight on an average of 3.22 night stays. And it stretched the Riverland's capacity of accommodation. And one of the things that will be a problem if the Rose Week becomes bigger is accommodation. So I just thought that members would be interested in those few stats.
Tongue in cheek, we haven't helped the accommodation by knocking back the previous submission we had last meeting. Okay, Councillor Hunter.
Page 188, there's discussion there about regional housing affordability and availability. Regional housing is quite a bit there in the LGA report. If we link that with Malcolm Tubbs' letter, I'm sure it's not something we want to take on in terms of necessarily housing homeless that seek to live or camp by the riverside. But is it something that we should keep an eye on in terms of the lack of housing within Renmark for those that just can't afford what's available at the moment? I don't know if that's an interest of a particular staff member. It would be for me to have some sort of insight to what they're proposing here through SAROC.
That would fall in line with the land that we've got available near the bowling club, with the possibility of, depending on government agents, departments or agencies that may be interested in picking up some of that land for that same purpose. I'll hand it over to you, Tony.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, there seems to be a lot of noise around housing at the moment. Not a lot of traction, but we've recently provided some data around information for this type of stuff. I think with the change of government, there may be an opportunity for this, for councils and our region to, highlight this a little bit more. There's so many housing ministers in Australia. There's 9 housing ministers in federal and state politics at the moment, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of traction happening. So there's quite a bit of talk, but I haven't seen a lot of rubber on the road, Councillor Hunter. But if there's an opportunity for us to push something forward, I'm happy to help facilitate that.
Councillor Hunter.
Yeah, I guess seeing it put up by SAROC doesn't necessarily mean that we get to see any of the detail. Or so if there's some way I can reference some of that thing, that'd be interesting. I mean, only today we had a local resident, shall we say, sleeping at the back of the op shop. It's not the first one. It certainly won't be the last. But when you walk around the corner and you see them there, or if you walk down the streets of Melbourne or Sydney and see some of the issues, let alone overseas, I don't know, it's heart-wrenching sometimes. So if we were able to be in and at least be considering some of the things that are out there would be really useful. Thank you.
Certainly on our own trip to Vancouver, it's mammoth over there, and a couple of trips I've had to Melbourne in relation to football. We're going from different places, and you've got bridges there with people sleeping at rough, and it's very hard. Councillor Howie.
That the RDA MR has also got it on their radar about housing, affordable housing, but as our CEO said, there's not much traction happening. It's all talk at the moment, and nobody seems to be doing much at all.
Councillor Drew.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pretty sure that this issue is also on that rally for Riverland. It aligns with some of those outcomes in that. So I'd agree with Councillor Hunter. There's a serious problem in Renmark. I know that firsthand from Carolyn's work, and definite shortage of emergency overnight accommodation for a lot of people. So yeah, I'd love to see us investigate a bit further and do what we can along those lines, and maybe start, as the CEO said, start lobbying the new housing minister in the new government it probably comes from the G3. So, you know, everyone's talking about it, but you're not doing anything. So maybe it's time to put the hand up and bring something to the table. So.
Yeah, I agree. A letter from the forum, probably with the three mayor signatures on it, with a suitably drafted out letter. Councillor Hunter?
Maybe a step before that is us understanding the problem locally. I don't know the data across the river, and I guess I could look it up from what was done before, but it's significant and it's now and it's in our town. I'd love some more information about what options are available rather than just passing it straight to a regional or a district body if we can. Is there information that available that we could chat around the table about, even if it's only a 30-minute discussion? If so, I'd value it.
Tony?
Through the chair, Tim, some of the background data from the Rally for Riverland would be appropriate.
Tim?
Through you, Your Worship. Yeah, there is. When you dive down into the 388 pages of data, there is actually a few gems in there, I think, that probably cover off on the issue.
So through the chair, Mr. Mayor, we might maybe, do we have that data, Mr. Pfeiffer, on our website or our?
Yes, we absolutely do have it on our website. It is in its fairly raw form, so it might be worth either myself or one of my staff actually sifting out the nuggets for you.
All right, we'll take that on notice for us, please, Tim. Thank you. Okay, any other questions in relation to the information reports? Councillor Howie? Still on mute, Margaret.
I've got some concerns about the report for the elected members request monthly reports. And so if you'll bear with me. So the first...
Can you give us a page number first?
Oh, page 219 onwards. So the one with the... I've already gone past it, so it's 218, sorry. So the one which I had a request about the mulch, we've had that big discussion. It says here it's completed, and the actions that the staff have written down here, staff have had discussions with the RIT operations manager. Now we all found out that that wasn't the piece of land that I was requested by residents about the mulch. It was the one across. I think Councillor Daru sorted that out. It's not RIT. That's on one side of the path, and on the other side belongs to council. So the action really was, which I was told verbally, is that staff had an inspection and didn't believe that it required any more top up of the mulch. So that's incorrect at that one. So the next one is that I put in two more cars, and I don't know what the delay is. They were done fairly early. They weren't done last week. One was about the Old Cemetery cleanup. That's not there. And the other one was about the plaque that's been hit by a car just as you drive out. It could have been yours, Mr. Mayor, on Meander Avenue, the big sort of street sign, the concrete ones that they put it a bit short, smaller.
Yeah.
It's been hit by a car and it's badly damaged.
Was that the one on you? Was that the one on New Landing Way?
No, it's the one on me. It's past. It's your court.
All right.
Direction. You're going to have a look at it. It's definitely been there. I don't know why they don't come up as soon as there. I get a thing saying they've been accepted. The other one is there is the 11th Street paving, and that says it's completed and hasn't even happened.
You need to bring these. You need to bring these up with Stephen.
Well, I know he's not here, is he? But why do you have an agenda that the 11th Street paving, which is where is it? On the 11th Street, 50 11th Street, is a tripping hazard, needs relaying. work has been done. It hasn't been done. So why is it in there saying it's been done?
Well, like I said,
So-
you need to bring that up with Stephen during the course of the month so that you can get those tidied up or make sure that they come through the system.
Well, I don't know that the report says it's been done until I read the agenda, and he's not here tonight. I mean,
So through the chair, Mr. Mayor, where it's said that it's been done, it's been scheduled. So we don't individually go around to individual jobs for schedule it. We schedule the jobs in, and if the reason why some of the works is not being done as quickly as you may like, I think I've reminded elected members on enough occasions that the effect on our workforce of COVID has been pretty severe. In certain situations, we've had as many as 70% of our civil staff not on the ground. So it's, we cannot respond to these requests as quickly as you would like. Well, we could actually not program in delivering our annual business plan projects, but I think they take priority.
I'm not complaining about them not being done. What I'm saying is that it says it's been completed and it's not completed. It should be ongoing. I'm not saying, I understand that, and I repeat your story every time that, we're down on staff and things like that. I'm not complaining about that. I'm saying that this report is not correct. And there's another example where Councillor Howie, the verge on the corner of Jane Eliza, and that it had a lot of weeds, and that was again a complaint from the residents, and it says it's ongoing. It's been finished. It's completed. So that one should be completed, and the paving one should be ongoing. And I'm just saying this is an official document. It goes out to the public. People have a look at what we're there, and it's one says it's done, and the other one says it's ongoing. So I'm just saying that the reporting is not correct.
This has been brought up before, and I think we decided then that if it's been looked at and it's going to be fixed, then it should be ongoing. However, it should only be finished off either when it is finished for the next council meeting thereafter. So if staff could pick up on that and ensure that that's how it's done. Councillor Spano.
Oh, I haven't finished.
Oh, well, I agree with you, Margaret, about the tripping hazards. I know that everything can't be done, but when it's a tripping hazard, if someone does fall over and hurt themselves very badly, and we've reported that it's a tripping hazard, it's not good.
Well, just because it's been reported as a tripping hazard needs to be assessed as well, because the general legal opinion is that anything over 25 mil can become a tripping hazard. So the fact that the paving may be altered or moved slightly, then it still doesn't mean that it's going to be a liability within the court. So those sort of things will sort themselves out over a period of time. But, if we can ensure that on those reports, if it's ongoing, it's ongoing. When it's completed, it's advised at the next council meeting that it's completed. I can't say any more than that. But you want to comment on that, Tony?
No. Through the chair, point taken.
However,
Councillor Howie. Yep.
yes, I'm just going to say is that that particular one is a massive, it's a major refix, and I understand that. Just don't have it as it's completed, because it's not completed. And the last one is that I had a meeting with you, Tony, about the Remark Cemetery, and you promised me, I know you've been sick and everything, but you promised you'd put a car in for that. Is that still going to happen, or is it not?
I actually believed that I had done it, Councillor Howie, but if it's not on the report, I haven't. So I will take that on notice. We did have a discussion about the Remark Cemetery. I've had several discussions with the staff about the Remark Cemetery, but I think you're correct. I actually didn't put a car in for that.
Thank you. Well,
which I apologise for.
That's all right. It's probably my cars haven't arrived either, so maybe they're in slow mail.
We did have a budget increase for that cemetery some time ago, Tony. So that needs to be looked at as well, I think, because I have brought this up on many occasions before about some of the work that needs to be done in the cemetery to bring it up to par.
Yeah, so through the chair, Mr. Mayor, my recollection was that we talked about the cemetery, Taylor Riverfront, as well as the new park at Sims Parade. So we did cost for some additional resources. I'm not convinced that they got in the budget for this financial year, but we are going to have to create some capacity for next financial year because the defects liability period for Taylor Riverfront will be finished soon, and we'll have the responsibility of that park, as well as obviously Sims Parade and some additional work at the cemetery. So we have been having some discussions with Chris Marks about opportunities for some traineeships, apprenticeships to build that additional capacity. But yeah, we'll certainly be talking to you about that with our annual business plan setting.
A figure comes to mind of $87,000 when we looked at it last time.
Yeah, I think it was 95, Mr. Mayor. But yeah.
All right. Any other questions in relation to the information reports? Councillor Hunter.
Just for clarity, are we in the Director Corporate and Communities information report, or are we on the one prior to that?
No, we're on the CEOs at the moment.
Okay.
Is there anything else on with the CEO's reports?
No.
I'll take that as no. So yes, you go ahead, Councillor Hunter.
I'm just looking at that community development report, and I think it's amazing.
Page number?
Community 188.
Right.
And then page 203, it's got a nice green background report. All very well done. But
hang on a minute. Hang on. Which page number? Is it the page number of the agenda?
Go 203 then of the agenda.
Thank you.
Because that's the prettiest one. Now, I just want to comment that I think there's only 1.5, 1.6 staff in that community development team. And you read through that script there about the breadth and depth of the work they're doing. I think it's exceptional for 1.6, and it certainly used to be. I don't know what it was, Tony, when you arrived in those early days, but it could have well been 4 or 5 working, or maybe even more, because we had the Chafee House and all that sort of stuff running as well. But for 1.6 people to do that depth and breadth of things, I think it's pretty exceptional. So I congratulate them on it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm sure the staff will pass that on. Tim?
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Mayor.
questions?
Yes, I will do.
Any other questions on the information reports? So, okay, can I have a mover and a seconder for receiving the Director of Information report? Councillor Howard, Councillor Maddox. All those in favour? That's carried. Infrastructure Environmental Services reports. Anything there to report? Tony? What's on the report?
I don't have any comments. Thanks,
Right.
Mr. Mayor.
Any questions from elected members? Someone prepared to move that report be received? Councillor Drew, Councillor Howie? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Motions without notice, nil. General business is nil, and that's about it, I think. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Motions without notice. Councillor Howie, Councillor Hunter, sorry. Unmute.
Yes. In the motions without notice, I'd like to move that the property at 180 Murray Avenue be added to the community land register as a follow-up to the decision we made earlier, that I don't see a reason why it shouldn't go on the community land register.
I won't take that as a motion. I'll take that on notice that staff prepare a report for the next meeting. There's a lot more to it than just doing a motion like that. So I prefer that a staff report come to council so that it can be looked at, and I fully support what you're saying, but yeah, just I think the proper way of doing it is to put it through as a staff report with a recommendation attached.
Yeah, that's fine. It's, I wanted to get it in this meeting because it's straight after we made those decisions that we
Yeah, no, I accept what
follow,
you're saying.
follow through with it. Thank you.
Any other notices on motion? Notices without motion, sorry. Don't keep moving your hand, Henry. Okay, general business. There's no general business listed, so that is that. And I'll now formally close the meeting. Thank you very much for your attendance, and we'll get back to meetings in the chamber, hopefully, subject to other issues. Thanks very much, everybody.
Before you go,
Just,
We're closing the meeting. I'm closing the meeting first.
Yep.
Just hang on. Which one is it?